All right, time to talk about the Warlock series. At least this one's only 3 movies long as opposed to the last one I did, which was 12. So this will be a quick one. I was actually going to watch the first 2 tonight, but I ended up getting caught up doing something, so I only got to watch one. But I will finish the other 2 very, very soon. Now, I have owned these on VHS for a long time, and I finally upgraded to the Vestron Blu-ray. And let me tell you, if you're a fan of these movies, this transfer of at least this first movie, which I watched tonight, looks fantastic. An incredible transfer. So definitely pick it up if you're a fan. If you're a fan, I'm guessing you already have it, but if you're wondering if this looks great, I can for sure tell you that the first one looks fantastic. I checked out little clips from the second and third, and I was like, they looked really good as well. So I will give a more definite stance on that in my reviews on 2 and 3 here in the next day or two. But I can tell you for sure the first one, wow, just beautiful. Now, these are films I have seen before, but it's been a while, and although I do remember the first one pretty well, I don't remember the second and third ones almost at all. I remember the third one has a different Warlock, actor. I can't even remember if he plays the same Warlock character in it or not. But the second one, I honestly don't remember anything that happens in it at all. So this will basically be like watching it new again for me, even though I've seen 2 and 3 maybe 2 times now, but there were years and years ago. And as you can see, and as I'm sure you could have figured out, I watch a lot of film. So, I can't retain it all, unfortunately. I wish I could. So let's get into this first movie. As usual, I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed a lot of different aspects of it, so let's get into all of them. This was directed by Steve Miner, who did 2 of the movies that I just reviewed in the last series, Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3. So, I thought that was a little bit of a coincidence there. I forgot he had directed this, so I was kind of like, oh, Miner just did his series. I like the opening sets that are used in this scene that takes place in 1691, I think is what it is. I'm sure it's just some town that was either there and is a historical little town, or a backlot set that they borrowed. I doubt they had the budget to build this little town that looks like it existed in the 17th century. I'd be shocked to find out that they built it just for this opening scene. No way they did. So wherever they used, it looked cool. And with low budget stuff like this, you don't really get to see realistic looking sets, especially period piece sets. And that's another thing I want to touch on here. Even though this movie only takes place a very short amount of time in the past, like way in the past, like a period piece, you rarely see horror movies taking place, like 100 years or more ago. Like those films, period piece horror films, just almost don't exist. They are so, so rare. So when I do see anything, even for like 5 minutes like this, it's cool because I wish they would make a couple more. I wish they would make more of them. Off the top of my head, recently they make them here and there, like The Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe, and I don't even know what time period that's set in, but it's at least like late 1800s or something, and maybe early 1900s. Is there cars in that? I can't even remember now. Shit. I need to rewatch that. I really liked that movie. But I know it's a period piece. And as I said, it's rare. And so just to even see that here in such a, what feels like such a lower budget film, I'm not sure it's not like, you know, cheap, but it wasn't high for sure. I like the use of, you know, the old English in this. The two main characters in this, you know, the Warlock himself and you know, the guy who's hunting him, Renfield. I like that. I like their use of it. I think that they not only did it well, but it was consistent throughout. You know, they weren't dropping it here and there. Another thing that Redfern, yeah. What I liked about his character is that anytime you deal with a time traveler like this, you have a fish out of water scenario. And a lot of times fish out of water scenarios can be overdone. And it's like, what's this? And what does this little contraption do? And what's this, you know, and they pick up phones and they pick up this and they pick up that and every single thing that walks by and drives by, and it just becomes this reoccurring joke throughout the movie, and it almost, you know, takes the lion's share of the time. Like, it takes precedence over story or anything. They're just constantly pointing. And I get it. It makes sense that they would be like that. I mean, if you were thrust 300 years into the future, you would be so in shock of your surroundings, you wouldn't be able to focus on much else. But, I mean, this guy does have a mission, for one. And for two, for an audience's sake, you need to ditch some reality in that situation and focus more on your story and your characters and, you know, getting the plot moving along. And so I was glad that, you know, they didn't just completely ignore that he's from, you know, 1691. And he's like, you know, oh my God, there's a, you know, what is this flying machine that we're about to get on? Like, there's some of it that's interjected, which it should be there. But I never felt like it was overbearing. I never felt like it was like, okay, I get it. He's not from this time. Like, let's get on with it. Like, he adapted well, and I was very thankful for that. So, and I really like the actors. I mean, the main three. It can be cheesy at times. I mean, the girl in this, you know, the chick from Footloose, she is a little hammy. You know, I think her dialogue is as well, but she plays it that way. She actually reminded me, looks-wise in this film, to Daryl Hannah in Blade Runner, if you just took the makeup off. She very much reminded me of Pris. Which is, I mean, not good or bad. It just kept reminding me of it the whole time I was watching it. She's a very similar haircut, very similar features. So yeah, this movie, now this is unrealistic no matter what time you live in, probably. I mean, I would assume. But it's just funny to watch things like that happen in this movie that would never happen now in a million years. Like, a guy, what they believe to be a drunk guy falls through their window and they just take him in without calling the police or kicking him out or anything. And the dude who lives there with him is like, I have a good idea. Let's put him in your room. The girl of the house, let's put this drunken stranger in your bedroom. Granted, she probably slept somewhere else, but it was like, really? You're just going to let him sleep it off after he crashed through your window? I can't believe that's believable in any time period, especially something as late as like 87 when this movie was made. But, I mean, it's for the story and yap. But, I mean, same thing with, like, when he gets on the plane with the big metal fucking rod. And it's just like, nowadays you couldn't get past security with, you know, you can't even bring your keys from your car in your pocket half the time. You gotta like check that in and make sure they're like looking through it. He carries like a weather vane onto the plane, and she's like, her reaction, the flight, you know, the flight attendant's like, you mind if I bag that for you and put it up overhead? Like, that's her reaction. It's like, just thinking of now, post 9/11. I it was just funny to see. Also, Julian Sands. I mean, Julian Sands is the Warlock. He is freaking great as this character. I've always liked Julian Sands. My mom always told me when I was a kid that he was dead, that he was like an alcoholic and died of something. So like I grew up for many years thinking Julian Sands was dead. And every once in a great while, I have to like remind myself and go and like IMDb his name and be like, see, yeah, he's still alive. He's still alive. He's still alive today. I just Googled it again. But yeah, I really like Julian Sands in this role. I really like him as an actor. I never thought he got enough roles. I think he just kind of lived in that B movie role area, kind of like a Jeff Fahey or like who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Damn, I can't think of it right now. Maybe it'll come to me. But he just kind of always lived in that B movie area, and that's a shame because I really like him a lot. Eric Roberts, that's the other name. Yeah, one thing I definitely want to talk about a decent amount here is the the lore that they kind of stuck to. They really did their research on like folklore and myths and whatnot about witches and warlocks, and it never felt too overboard or too convenient and goofy. Like, I really liked that attention to warlock mythology with her like taking nails and hammering at his footprints, and the guy looking into his eyes and making him bleed, and her putting pennies in the mouth, and like there's a lot of those things that are throughout this film that it was just like, those were cool little things. And like salt water being injected in his veins at the end, and her digging up the salt and putting it in consecrated ground, and him not being able to go on. Like, there's a lot of little things that are just cool to see within this movie, and it actually took a little bit more thought. I enjoyed that they sat down and actually wrote something out with thought put into it. You don't see that a lot in B movies like this. This is like a B plus movie. Like, it's almost to A, but there is some cheesiness to it that keeps it like just on the wrong side of A. But as I said, I really like it. The first time that Cassandra with a K. The first time Cassandra with a K turns her, ages forward, and she's like, "Oh, I look 40," and I'm like, "You look like 55." But I really like that. I really like that. They took a girl who, is in her 20s, and they used her vanity as a motive to help out. Like, you don't see that a whole bunch. So there's this urgency because she's not only getting older, but she's going to continue to get older till she dies. And at first it gets her attention because she just thinks like, I'm going to look old. I'm only 20. I don't want to look 40. I don't want to look 50, 60, whatever. And I like that was the driving point for this main protagonist, like her vanity. And then once that she gets her bracelet back and she becomes young again, she does what her character would have done because she went for it straight out of a vanity standpoint. She decided she wanted to bail. Like, she's like, "Oh, fuck this. I don't want anything more to do with this. I got what I came for. Goodbye. Good luck. I'm out." And while I agree with her, and that is the smart thing to do, once she finds out that the world is at stake, other people's lives are at stake, that's her turning point, and where she becomes a better person than she once was. So you kind of get to see her character evolve. And I thought that was a nice little touch. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but I liked that character arc for her. And let's see here. Oh man, something you never see ever is a kid being killed. I mean, we don't actually see it on screen, mind you, but the fact that this, he goes to this kid and we hear that he has skinned him, and then, the guy says that he needs the fat to be able to fly, and then we see a cup of his fat, like child fat. This kid was like 10 or less, and we see a cup of his fat that was taken off of his body after he was skinned. Like, you do not see that shit. It is so frowned upon, kids dying in horror movies. Now, as a parent, I know I'm supposed to be like, oh, I don't like when kids die in movies, and of course I don't like it, but it's unique enough that when I do see it, I appreciate it because it takes balls to do. And it fits the film. Like, it yet again goes towards the lore of like a unbaptized child having more power than somebody else and giving him the ability and, to conjure up a spell with with those ingredients. And as ugly as it is, it's cool. Now, this story actually reminds me of just a redressed Terminator. I mean, that's basically what this is. Except for he's not coming back to kill just her. He's coming back to... What his goal is, I guess, is to bring back Satan. I'm not sure the whole idea of like why they would think he would want to unmake reality and completely do away with all of everything, time, earth, all planets, everything ever. Like, what would he gain from that? So I don't, when he says that's, when he's like, you're foolish for believing in that, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, why would, I mean, he's just pure evil. He just wants to undo creation so that he stops existing. He's got to have more of a motive than that. And so when I was watching this, I was like, I hope that's not his motive. And it seems to be at the end that his goal is to, I don't know. I mean, I took it that he was trying to bring back the devil and be basically the Antichrist, that's what I got from it. But yeah, just him having a more motive than just killing us all and himself just seems stupid to me. It was like that. I mean, it's fine. I just personally was like, that's your goal? Like, just to kill us all and yourself? Like, that just, I don't know. That just wasn't working for me. But as I said, I would have looked past it otherwise. And the idea, like, I really like the idea of he finds out God's name by these, these pages. I really like the scene where the page, like, she rips the page and she puts it down and it, like, seals itself back together and is, like, flush. I thought that was a really cool effect. For a lot of the cheap effects in this film, like the flying stuff and his conjuring magic that looks like hand-painted shit, a lot of that is pretty dreadful. I mean, the visual effects in this movie are pretty bad and horribly dated. But there's some okay gore here and there, cutting off the finger, biting off the tongue, stuff like that. But the page seal thing was really cool. I'm guessing they probably just had strings we couldn't see and they ripped the paper and then they played it in reverse. Whatever. However they did it, it looked really cool for the time. I was appreciative of that. But as I was saying, like, the idea of getting God's true name and speaking it backwards, that's something that's always stuck with me. Anytime anyone brings up Warlock, or anytime I think of Warlock, when I look at the VHSs on my wall, anytime that it flashes into my mind, that is like instantaneously the first thing I always think of. Like, that's the movie where, he wants to speak God's names backwards to undo creation because he spoke it forwards to create it. And I just like that. I think it's a really neat little idea. I might be hokey to other people, but I just thought that was a cool little thing. And I like that that's how he could undo it. And he has to collect these pages, and they buried it in all different locations. They've done that in plenty of movies. Demon Knight and whatnot, where they, like, scatter things for them to collect. But yeah, as I said, I just like that. This movie actually has a Book of Shadows reference. A few movies do, but it's funny to hear Book of Shadows in a movie and just be taken back to Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows. Well, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, which that movie, features no such object. Like, it's not mentioned. There's no anything to do with the Book of Shadows. Now, I'm one of the only people on earth that loves that movie. I know I'll get shit on for that, and I will eventually do a review. But anytime I hear Book of Shadows, I just have to laugh because it's like, this movie had more of a Book of Shadows just by its reference. I mean, we do get to see the pages eventually, which ends up being the Book of Shadows. So he is trying to collect the Book of Shadows. It's actually like a main plot element of this movie. And I'm sitting here like, this movie's called Warlock, and the movie called Book of Shadows has no Book of Shadows in it. So when I heard it, it literally made me laugh out loud. Another thing besides the visual effects and the flying around and all that looked cheap was the graveyard scene. Oh man, when they got there, it looked like, someone went on a shopping spree at the Dollar Tree and, lined their front yard with every little half an inch, centimeter fucking thick cardboard gravestones and stuck it in the ground. Oh man, that set looked bad. It looked bad. Those gravestones looked cheap and flimsy and thin. Oh, it was bad. The main chick looks so much better with her hair wet in this. I do not like her hair at all in this movie. So when she gets it wet and it gets a little curl to it and whatnot. I know I always have to point out I'm a hairdresser to, give you a reason why I'm even acknowledging it, but my God, she looks so much sexier, so much better. I hate her hair in this movie. It's really sad when, he moves in to give her a kiss and like she closes her eyes and he just like turns into like this little dust devil and goes and like engraves some message to her to leave for the ages to see that he, had feelings for her or whatnot. It was sad, man. It was just like, he got to kiss her a couple times on the eyes. He should have went for the lips. But I don't know. It was actually like, oh, that's a fucking bummer, man. Like, he couldn't even get a kiss out of the girl. Like, he loses his girl and then comes here, fucking meets another one, and he can't even have her. He can't even stay. Like, he had to give up his life to come. Like, as soon as the Warlock's dead, he's got to go too. It's like he couldn't just stay and live his life. That's some bullshit, man. But yeah, anyway, I think I got everything. I like her globe earrings, and she is a horrendous driver in this movie. My God, she didn't take her, she didn't put her eyes on the road for more than like 2 seconds every time she was driving. It was making me crack up. Yeah, I think that's it. I really like the witch's compass as well. I thought that was a cool little thing. Put the blood on it, spinning around. I don't think it made a lot of sense because he said it was like be spinning faster, but how does that then point if it's spinning fast? It doesn't matter. It is a cool little thing. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to part 2 and 3. I remember the third one being pretty dreadful, but that's all right. I've watched more dreadful films than that. I guarantee it. So anyway, guys, let me know if you've seen all of these. If this is a movie series that you enjoy. If you've ever seen it at all. If this sounds like something, I mean, obviously I'm talking spoilers here, so hopefully I didn't ruin the movie for you if you haven't seen it. But these older movies, I'm always going to talk spoilers. I want to break them down and call it exploring series for a reason. Like, I'm exploring every little intimate detail of the movie that I feel is noteworthy, literally. So, all right, guys, until next time.